Hello, it's me.
I knew you were saying.
I was wondering if the BC Lions will play a game complete. They can't seem to. Hello, I am Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst, joined by Mr. More for your money.
Woo!
And Dan, you were right.
I got the streaker points.
Really. However, I still think this game may have been different if Nathan Rourke played, because I'm sorry.
No.
I love Jeremiah Masoli. I'm a fan of his as a person. He was bad tonight.
I get he was bad, but York's no better.
Yes, he is.
He's not.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yeah.
Well, B. Like I said, they won off a running game.
Both teams had a good running game, actually.
Yeah, but wasn't good enough.
I'm just saying, if you're looking for a plus for BC, I think that was Butler's best game this season so far.
Oh, I agree.
I thought he played very
good. It wasn't good enough against Ouellette.
No.
We had a viewer of the show, of the pregame show, say that Ouellette was going to hit 190 yards, and I thought he was going to hit just over 100. Turns out he hit 139, so 190 wasn't completely out to lunch.
Yeah, AJ Ouellette, 23 carries, 139 yards, and a touchdown, long of 26. Tommy Stevens, 7 carries, 33 yards, 13 yards as a long. And Thomas Bertrand-Houdon, who may be injured, by the way, Rider Nation. So that could be a problem for you down the road.
Getting in next week.
3 carries, 16 yards, averaging
2 weeks
5
from now, because next week we get a bye.
So I'm assuming Trevor Harris will be back next week for the Riders. But if not, Jake Maier did his thing. 13 for 23, 170 yards, a touchdown. Had either 2 or 3 throws for over 20 yards, a long one of 42. He made plays when he needed to, and he managed the game very well.
He played the type of game I thought he would play. He wasn't a franchise quarterback. He wasn't making highlight wheel plays. But I heard one of the commentators said during the game, and I agreed with him, he managed the game well. And that's what Jake Maier does. Jake Maier is not a franchise quarterback. He's not even a good quarterback. But he runs the game well. He knows how to manage the clock. Saskatchewan's got a good offensive line, and they have one of the best running games in the league. And that's exactly what Maier did. He got some time in the pocket, didn't go at Baker Sporting plays, looked for a quick, easy play, managed the field, managed time of possession, and handed the ball to Ouellette. I'm not even criticizing him. I think he did exactly what he needed to do in order to win. So good on him. I give him a lot of props. But
I don't totally agree if you can.
We don't need Trevor Harris. No, we still need Trevor Harris. Trevor Harris is the veteran franchise quarterback who's going to give you a playoff win. But I'm not going to less Trevor Harris in. If he's still not 100% by week 6, I'd feel okay starting Maier. But I think with him being close to it this week and getting to bye next week, I'm sure he'll be back in week 6.
Now, here's a question from the comment section. What takes longer, exchanging insurance or reporting an accident in a fender bender, or figuring things out when there's a fight on a football field? And yes, that takes forever. We saw some chippiness again, and I think if you are Saskatchewan, that is one thing you want to clean up. I understand things get under your skin, but these are back-to-back games with a lot of penalties for Saskatchewan.
Well, when
Dan,
you think about it,
Dan in the comments yet again.
Woo! Well, when you think about it, right? Football is the most physical sport out there. However, there's usually not too many fights in football. So I think that's why it takes so long to figure out. And that's why I always compare hockey and football to. In football, it's a real gentleman's sport. Like, yeah, you tackle the guy down. and you beat up the guy during the play. But then, even if the guy laying down is wearing the opposite jersey, 9 times out of 10, you put out the arm and you offer to help him up, right? In football. And then tonight, we didn't see that. Tonight, we saw a fight. There was some chippiness at the end. But that's what I would say the difference between football and hockey is football's a fight. You know, you ain't Dave no very human wearing the jersey, no matter what color they are. They have human respect. Versus hockey is a war. They will kill each other. They do not care. You never see anyone putting their arm out opposing team in a hockey play. Never. And that's why it took so long to figure this out, because this normally doesn't happen in football.
But
This
Dan,
is Tuesday night, the regular season game 37 in a hockey game. So that's why it took easy to figure out hockey.
well, it's because football, I think there's more respect for your teammates versus.
Well, that's what
hockey.
I'm saying, right? That's why I say football's a fight, hockey's a war. That's the difference between the sports.
My big issue is for Saskatchewan here, 136 yards and penalties on 10 penalties. And there were quite a few after the play penalties, as Ryan Dinwiddie put it in that loss to the Toronto Argos, selfish penalties. And one of the best things I heard from that one is, I'm not sure if you heard about this, Dan, but Corey Mace texted Ryan Dinwiddie after the loss for the Argos. He's like, hey, what are you complaining about? We took a lot more penalties than you did.
Well, I'll just say, if I'm Corey Mace, I really don't care.
I see your Dan and raise you a Twilight. We got some poker going on.
That's funny.
No one's on your team anymore, Dan. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, that's okay.
But no, and Dan, I understand. But the thing is, as much as Saskatchewan is 4-0, Corey Mace as a coach, remember they started 4-0 last year, and then they fell apart. So you're still looking at.
Yeah, but you didn't have a backup quarterback last year. Now you do.
Okay, Shea Patterson. I'm actually shocked no one's picked him up, because I actually think
no one picked up for a reason. He was garbage.
He wasn't garbage. He actually put up decent numbers.
But pull them up.
At the end of the day, here, as a BC Lions, if I was a BC Lions fan right now, number one, I honestly thought Nathan Rourke was starting tonight, but he did not. And that's a huge factor in this game. Don't get me wrong. But, man, your defense is bad.
I don't think it is.
Dan, it is a factor. Nathan Rourke is a better quarterback than Jeremiah Masoli. Whether you like
At
him or
this point in
not.
his career, Rourke has struggled ever since he came back to the league.
But that one game against Edmonton, he played very well. And then he got
one game against Edmonton. I can play well against Edmonton.
That's not true, Dan. You would get slow. But that's like me saying that, you know what, then the Winnipeg Blue Bombers suck because they almost lost to the Elks this week. That's a terrible take.
But David still won. That's the difference. Good teams, man's the way to win, and bad teams, man's the way to lose.
All right, Luke Wilson, calm down. But the end
I'm
of the day,
they don't call me Luke Wilson. I don't call the league a piece of garbage. So I don't like that comment at all. Call me whoever you want, but don't call me Luke Wilson.
The end of the day, though, what I'm trying to get out here is the BC Lions have more problems than just a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You let AJ Ouellette run for way too many yards. Your receivers are not fighting for 50-50 balls hard enough. You have Justin McInnis going offside on a touchdown play that would have turned this entire game around, because 3 plays later, Masoli threw that god-awful interception. Like, yeah.
Like,
Masoli was definitely part of the problem tonight, but I don't feel many players on the Lions helped. I thought James Butler had a really good game. That was his best game of the season.
For sure. It wasn't good enough, but it was the best game of him in the year.
Dan, 17 carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown with a long run for 38 yards.
Oh, yeah, it's a good game.
That is more than good enough from James Butler.
Yeah, you're right.
What you need now is BC's got to really look at themselves in the mirror and be like, okay, what's not working?
And the other one that stood out for me was Michael Alway.
Michael Alway, he's a phenomenal player.
Because, like, BC doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't have the best defensive core. They have Betts, obviously, he's really good. But he gave Betts a big contract, gave Yoke a big contract. Other positions are going to be weaker. But the other bright spot for defense is Alway. And his player in the field is amazing, but take that aside, what stood out for me is his off-the-field presence he has. He's the real leader of that team in that locker room since they lost Vernon Adams. So, as an example, when Masoli threw that pick the first player I went over to Masoli was Michael Alway. Say, hey, don't worry about that, bud. We'll get the next one. And yeah, even though it was a bad play from Masoli, that's the type of veteran leadership you need on a good team, right? To
also, too,
keep the team together.
Micah Alway did have 11 tackles tonight. This guy's a tackling.
Oh, he had a great game on the field, too. I'm just saying his off the field presence is really good, too.
Very important question we need to answer here. Is BC the only team right now who isn't sure who they're going to start? Because I started Rourke and it was too late. Now I'm sick about that. That sucks when you start a guy in your fantasy and it turns out not to be playing. He was listed as a game time decision, but from all I heard, he was playing because he was even listed as the starting quarterback on all the depth charts, even with a game time decision beside him, which usually means he's going to go.
Well, even Jacob in the pregame show, he went with BC because he was predicting York was going to start. I don't know. I just had a gut feeling Saskatchewan was going to get this game, and they did.
I just mean, though, if you're BC, and it's a great question about who's starting, from what all understanding and from all we're hearing, is Nathan Rourke was about 98% good to go tonight. So he should be playing next week. I don't see it being like a Chad Kelly setback where now he's not coming back till after week 7 in Toronto. Like, I believe Nathan Rourke will play next week. And I'm trying to remember now, who did the BC Lions play?
I was just going to ask, who does BC play next week?
Because the BC Lions, they need to win.
Hopefully, for our sake, we play Edmonton.
Montreal.
Oh, no.
Montreal's coming off their first loss of the year. Davis Alexander should be back for that one. But Dan, I'm going to put this right now. If I'm looking at play on the field right now, I think Edmonton's better than BC.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think Edmonton has shown me more. They've taken good teams to the brink.
Yeah.
They almost beat Winnipeg. They made a pretty decent comeback against Montreal, as much as it was still a loss. And I think Trey Ford just came off his best game of the season. I think the Elks right now are closer than the Lions because I'm seeing progression. The Lions, I'm seeing degression, and that's my concern about BC.
I feel so bad for Edmonton players and the fans of Edmonton because the record's 0-3. So if you look at a paper, you're going to say the team sucks again. But not just this year, but years past, they've lost so many close games.
Yeah.
And they have lost games that they should have won. And even this year, again, I don't think this is an 0-3 team. I think this Edmonton team is a lot better than their record. And I think they're actually a really good team on the field. If you watch them on the field, they got a great group of guys. They got a really good defensive core. They got great lines. I think Trey Ford is probably the biggest future bright spot, not just for Edmonton, but the whole CFL. I mean, that's the one player you see, it's going to make a name for the league, right? He's that good of a player. And then, you got a great cup winning and Cody Fajardo as your backup. So you got two amazing quarterbacks. Like, I feel really bad for Edmonton.
Well, let's just see here, though. I think this is maybe more showing how important the backup quarterback position is.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you looking, Saskatchewan won a game with their backup quarterback. Montreal, okay, they lost their first game of the year with McLeod Bethel.
Wasn't Bethel Thompson's fault,
but McLeod Bethel Thompson didn't play terrible.
No,
I hate saying it. Jeremiah Masoli was bad. He was,
and I feel bad for Masoli because he's a great guy. And when BC made the signing, because obviously you couldn't bring back VA, unfortunately. When they made the signing, I thought, Masoli's a great signing for this position because you can't bring in someone like Cody Fajardo or Bethel Thompson to take over VA because you want zero controversy on Vancouver who the number one quarterback is. So you have to bring in someone who is a definite backup. And I thought for the ones that are available at the time, I thought Masoli was the best pick. I would at the beginning of the year, I would have picked Masoli over Mir. I know this game Mir played better, but I really like Masoli. I think Nick Arbuckle was probably the best of that situation, but it's pretty obviously the Argos are going to bring him back. So I think it's available. I think they made the right decision bringing Masoli in. It's just that it's not all Masoli's fault too. I think their O-line has given it up some weak time for Masoli to have time in the pocket to lead the play. I think Verlaine could definitely play a lot better. I think their running game up to this game has been weak, but boy, if Buckler can pick off him this week, he played phenomenal this game. So maybe has a play spot for the future for BC fans. But, I think the defense are a little weak too.
So barely won a game with a backup. I wouldn't be happy at all if Edmonton suddenly got Mayer. Yeah, I think Cody Fajardo is the best backup in the CFL. Definitely 100%. Don't like him enough. It's a pipe dream. Yeah, Adams Jr. would be a phenomenal backup, but I mean,
it's not going to happen.
Vernon Adams Jr. is not a backup quarterback, right?
He's having a struggle beginning, but I mean, he is going to take over.
Vernon Adams, though, in my opinion, his numbers are not as bad as his stats, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
But I mean, I think Jake Maier tonight, and I agree in the comments and what you're saying, Dan. Jake Maier is not a superstar.
No.
But what Jake Maier did tonight, he just went out and managed the game. He took the throws that were available, hit a couple deep shots, and they were there to keep the defense honest enough. When there were a couple bad snaps, he handled it for no major losses. Yep. And the biggest one of all, no interceptions, no turnovers.
Exactly. I'm not even.
That's all Jake Maier has to do when he's in the game.
I'm not even criticizing him
because he's not. Trevor Harris is arguably the best quarterback in the CFL. You can make that argument.
100%.
But with Jake Maier, he went out there and he just played good enough.
That's I'm not even criticizing him when I'm saying that. And then, worst case scenario, you still have Tommy Stevens back there. He's like a beast. Really he's like 6'7".
But
wow.
And you saw at the end of the game, too, he was just steamrolling people for a few runs. But, man, BC's run defense needs a lot of work. And I know they lost 2 defensive linemen tonight in Hendricks and
that was a big loss, Hendricks.
But to me, that's no excuse, Dan, because the line was doing a bad job before those 2 injuries, too.
Hendricks was an Argo at one point, was he?
He was. But what BC needs to do, they need to, I think in practice, they got to work on stopping the run. They got to load up the box, make it so that it's not easy, especially this game. Why not just jam the run up and say, you need to beat us with Jake Maier's arm? I don't understand.
For sure. That's what I would have done.
And I'll be honest, Buck Pierce, so far as a head coach, hasn't.
Terrible.
Another question I want to ask you, Dan, and please in the comments, fire away your answers. Should have Chase Bryce started the second half?
No.
Why?
Because
that terrible interception.
Masoli's going to be your guy if York isn't out there, right? And you got to build confidence in Masoli. So that's why I say let him run with it.
Back to the comments, and then I will give you my answer. Harris had one bad season with Edmonton. Yes, I do remember that one bad season, unfortunately, was with the Eskimos at the time. Ford is looking like he has his own personal QB coach. Mike Smith had his own goalie coach instead of using Edmonton's resource for goalie training. That is very true.
Actually, I forgot about that. Yeah,
some athletes will use their own guy versus going with the team option if they're more comfortable. And Bryce, I was okay with. They were testing the wall. Yeah, I agree. I thought Bryce, when he came in, he almost threw a pick, but he didn't. But I more mean, if it was me, I think I would have started Bryce in the second half just after that really bad interception from Masoli when you're driving down the field. And I understand, again, you could also blame Justin McInnes for going offside there. But if you don't turn the ball over there and even just kick a field goal, the game is 10-9 going into –
That's what really changed the game, even though it was right before halftime. That's what really – change the momentum and flip the field. I was just going to say a great comment about Mike Smith and this personal coach because Saskatchewan, AJ Ouellette, I think, has struggled his first year as a Rough Rider. And what do they do? Oh, yeah, if they bring in Andrew Harris, was a legendary Blue Bomber, so he was supposed to be coaching in Winnipeg, but wanted to coach high school first. And then he was with the Argos. I loved him as an Argo. But we with the Argos with AJ Ouellette in this rookie year. And they basically brought in, because what team really has a running back coach? Right? Not every team does. They just something with the offense. They basically brought in Andrew Harris to be AJ Ouellet's coach. And so far it's working. Like, you can see AJ Ouellette, you've only seen him in 4 games this year, but he looks like how he was back in the Argos when he won the Grey Cup in 22 versus last year. Boy, he's like 139 yards. That's like insane tonight. He had a fantastic game.
And I mean, AJ Ouellette also is just playing very well in general so far, right? He's got 347 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, averaging 6.2 yards a carry. Actually, he's on pace for a career high in yards per carry at 6.2 right now.
And only 4 games.
And only 4 games. And you know what? He's only been targeted twice in the throw for offense, but he's caught 2 of them.
Yep.
And you know what? He's just doing what he needs to do. And actually, too, that Hudon's looking very good. And if he ends up being injured, well, now your backup is Mr. Kadeem Carey.
Yeah.
So you have a very good running punch if you're the Riders. The Riders right now, it'll be very interesting to see when the Riders play the Blue Bombers.
What a game that'll be.
That will be a hell of a game.
Yeah, wow. The Banjo Bowl.
No, it'll be Labor Day first.
No, well, no, it's the same weekend, bud.
No, it's not.
Well,
first game is between these 2 teams is on August 31st.
Mark it down.
Depending on how both these teams are going. Now, I mean, not like the Riders.
When is the Banjo Bowl after August 31st? I think it is.
Yeah. Since September 6th.
So I think we play a game in Winnipeg on the 31st, and then the Banjo Bowl is in Saskatchewan the week after, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's easier.
But the Riders, though, you got the Stampeders next week, then the Lions again, then the Elks, then the Owls, then the Ticats, the Stamps again, then the Blue Bombers.
So, really, the only competition should be Montreal for them.
I disagree with you. I think Calgary could give them a run for their money next week.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Calgary.
I honestly think that was a weird game from VA due to all the rain, and I think Calgary is a better team than people are saying.
Oh, for sure. I agree with you.
And mind you, too, Dan, that's one thing you got to remember in football. Any team can beat any team on any given night. It's only one game. Sure. Everyone, and myself included, thought – I actually did pick Hamilton. But majority of people thought Montreal would beat Hamilton even without Davis Alexander because Montreal was a better team.
That would be a great game to go to. The night was beautiful.
However,
instead we watched the draft. That was a boring draft. Oh my god!
But at the end of the day, Hamilton found.
If you want to listen to us for 4.5 hours and listen to Jacob read Dr. Seuss, then go on to that episode.
Yes, I read Dr. Seuss live on the air. But then we look at Winnipeg's schedule next. You're playing Calgary Thursday. Your back-to-back games in Calgary with the Stampede Bowl on the 3rd, which opens up the Calgary Stampede, and whoever wins it gets this cool trophy. Looks like a really cool idea. Oh, then Winnipeg has back-to-back games against Toronto. Then against Calgary. No, it's against Winnipeg. I just said that, bud. Then that's okay. But I mean, Winnipeg, you look at their schedule coming up. You got Calgary, Toronto, Calgary, Ottawa, Montreal, Riders. So in theory, Dan, if you want to say about Saskatchewan, in theory, your only real tough games for Winnipeg coming up as of right now on paper would be Calgary and Montreal.
Well, kind of same thing. Yeah, exactly.
So we could be seeing both of these teams having the same record by the time they face each other for the Labor Day.
They'll be what, 9-0 at that point?
9-0 or maybe 7-2, like somewhere around those.
Pretty
lines.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly.
Now again, though, I think I could see Winnipeg losing at least one of those games to Calgary.
Oh, for sure.
By that point, Toronto, we don't, like them or lump them. Chad Kelly makes a big difference to the Argos.
My boy.
And
I love
at the end of the day, that can make a big difference. And Ottawa, Drew Brown could be back. Ottawa is a very, very different team. No disrespect to Dustin Crum, but Drew Brown, his first game this year, threw for 414 yards, right? Like unfortunately, he's not been able to stay healthy with Ottawa, but when he's healthy, he's a top-tier quarterback.
Oh, for sure.
Quick little notes on some NHL trade rumors before we sign off for the night as well. Apparently, the Marner trade situation, Marner has not even been approached about his no-move clause yet, according to Darren Dreger. So I honestly don't think a trade is happening. I think they are just trying to get TV ratings and internet clicks.
100%.
But
The NHL draft is over. And just one thing I want to point out that's kind of interesting. San Jose, with their first pick in the second round, I think it's pick 33rd, drafted the first Chinese player as the highest a Chinese player has been drafted. He is Canadian, but he's a Chinese background. So that's a really cool little tidbit that you see at the game of hockey is growing in different nationalities, because if we want the game to grow, we need it to grow in different countries and different markets, right? And different people. So, we have seen the NHL go over to different countries for preseason games and stuff like that. So that's pretty interesting, I think.
More back to the rumor mill, but Dan, that is very fascinating. Nick Kypreos saying teams have been calling about Nazem Kadri to the Calgary Flames. The Maple Leafs are one of those teams that have been interested. I will say this. I don't think Kadri is going to be traded out of Calgary. I'm just reporting the rumors as they are coming out the docket. I just don't see Calgary going for moving Kadri, because I think that team is very close unless you're getting a really big return, or they're just not happy with his play, but I don't think that would be the case. Also, again, just to completely clear up the Marner situation, is that no calls have been made at this time and nothing has been signed. There's still more work to do regarding a potential Mitch Marner trade to Vegas. Nothing tonight, but that could change. Like people are saying, I don't see Mitch Marner being traded to Vegas. I think Marner will wait and then have his pick up the crop signing of where he wants to sign.
I think Marner's going to sign in Carolina. I really do. I really think, because he was so put off about being asked to waive his no move, which I don't know why he's put off about. It's his business, I mean, at least he had a no move, so they didn't just trade him, right? They did ask him. And anyway, he's really put off at the city, at the team, at the fans, and that's really what started it all off. So I could see him go, and sign just for that one reason. Because there's a few teams in the league, regardless what team it is, they're going to hand him the same amount of money, right?
I don't agree with you. I think he's going to go out west. But also, back to more Maple Leafs drama. Nick Robertson, Dan's favorite player to hate besides Joseph Woll. The Leafs are actively shopping him right now.
About time. He's not that he was a bad player. He played better, but there we go.
So, with the comments about the Calgary Flames, their hope was too many management mistakes in Calgary. The Rangers didn't do much. I was hoping we'd pick up more defense, but we have a great team. We can easily turn it back around this season. Just got to pick up some more D. Actually, I agree with you on both statements. Calgary, unfortunately, everything fell apart when they made that Huberdeau trade. As much as the trade wasn't as bad as everyone says it was, because
Mackenzie Weaver is a great defenseman.
The issue is not so much the trade, it was how much you paid Jonathan Huberdeau and how long of a term you gave him, right? Because he's never really lived up to it. Now, the Rangers, they need to find someone to replace Jacob Trouba. They need to find a big, mean,
like a franchise
defenseman. And I'm going to say this here, and I haven't really seen this being rumored and speculated. Why don't the New York Rangers just give Aaron Ekblad a call on July 1st and say, Happy Canada Day, bud. Why don't you stay in America and come play for the New York Rangers? Because he is exactly what the Rangers need on defense. He's big, he's mean, he's physical. One of the best defensemen in the NHL. Pay him. I don't know what the Rangers cap situation is. I will look that up. But Dan, how do you feel about what I'm saying about the New York Rangers going for Aaron Ekblad?
I think that's a great statement. I can really see that happening. He plays the Rangers style. I was going to say maybe it will be a sign and trade with Calgary and the Rangers for Anderson, but I actually like the Ekblad thing better. I was just looking up
Anderson being your solution there.
No, I'm just kind of thinking quickly, right? I was just looking up when you were talking there about Huberdeau. Huberdeau has a $10.5 million cap hit until 2031. And he got a whopping 62 points last year for $10.5 million. That has to be worse than the Danault Nurse contract. That's got to be one of the worst contracts.
So looking at the Rangers cap situation, you have about just under $12 million in cap space. And the only UFA you have is Kubel.
Who?
Kubel and Calvin DeHaan. So you have the money to bring in Aaron Ekblad. Now, that would be the only move you could make, basically.
But that's all we need.
Harry Panarin's contract is up in 25-26. So you really got to go for it now. And here again, looking at it from a Rangers fan perspective, at least it won't be Nurse. Edmonton is too busy to deal to debt with. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to take Darnell Nurse.
No.
I don't.
Like I said before, I can see a really bad team, but needs to fill up cap space taking Nurse.
But Darnell Nurse has a partial no move, Dan, so he'll just say no.
Buffalo,
he'll just say
Utah.
No. He'll say Utah's not a bad team. They just picked up JJ Peterka.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's a bad example, but a team like that, Seattle.
No, but I could absolutely see the New York Rangers going for Aaron Ekblad and basically saying that's our free agency. We like our team.
That'll be a great team.
Because I feel last year for the Rangers was more drama issues than anything.
Yeah, I agree. Same with the Canucks.
No, the Canucks will be bad this year.
Yeah.
They'll be bad.
Well, I think the main reason the Canucks were bad is because of the drama. That's what I was trying to say.
I'm not expecting them to be any better. I mean, there's rumors that they're going to move Thatcher Demko and that's going to be the end of him. I wonder if that's who Edmonton's going for. Since they did not go for John Gibson, which I don't know why for the price for him.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. That was a great trade for Detroit.
It was. But things will be very interesting over the next couple of days. So make sure you're staying locked in with the Streakers Island podcast because we're going to be covering all of this. And we will not be doing our regularly scheduled pre-record show that would come out Monday morning. Because, well, truthfully, we record it Sunday night, and Dan and I are both going to be out in Ottawa. So I don't really want to bring all my recording gear out with me out there and having all the drama with it. So what we're going to do instead, we will be doing a CFL Free Agent Frenzy preview show on Monday night.
You mean NHL, not CFL? CFL
yes, NHL. Yeah, we already did a CFL.
I'm sure we'll talk some CFL in the comments during the show, but yeah,
And then on Free Agent Day, we will basically be on the air for the majority of the day.
We will?
Yes. Oh. I already told you that, Dan.
Oh.
So now, mind you, some of us may come and go and take breaks, but we will be on for the majority of the day with multiple different guests coming on to talk about Free Agent Frenzy. So make sure you stay locked in with us for that. But I think it's time we sign off so we lay our weary heads to rest and get ready for the drive to Ottawa in the morning. So thank you very much for watching the Streakers Island Podcast Live Edition. Thank you for the comments. Congratulations to the Saskatchewan Roughriders to moving to 4-0. Congratulations, Leaf Nation, on making up more rumors that will probably not happen. We appreciate the conversations. I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. And, of course, we have Mr. Moore for your money.
Woo!
We'll see you tomorrow at some point on social media. We'll be posting some stuff on our stories and posts. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.